Steve, what a time to have a niche Penn State sports media slash sports business podcast, huh?
Hard to believe somebody would think about doing that.
Look at us. Uh, we were going down the rundown before the show here started of what the topics we were going to talk about, and Steve is very fired up, folks. So buckle up. We're in for a show, is what I'm saying.
We'll
Okay,
see.
we'll see where this one goes.
We'll see.
The name of this show is called Stuff Summer Says
Steve,
with Steve. We have a guest today. It was a great conversation with Penn State alum Spencer Ripchik. He is the beat writer covering WVU at the Dominion Post. But what is particularly interesting and fascinating, and will relate to our conversation afterwards, is he is the AP voter down that way. And so we kind of picked his brain a little bit on his poll, his strategy with the poll. And it's a great conversation. Then I got a laundry list of notes here to talk about. I want to talk
nice.
about the game. I want to talk about a couple of different aspects. I want to talk about the X's and O's, but we'll do it also Darian and Steve style because I don't know where you watch the game from. And then as I mentioned, there's some very big news. We have some legitimately big news in the sports business Penn State ecosphere to discuss.
Did you just show your laundry list on an actual list of paper? Like you don't write it on your phone?
Well, my phone is recording the video now. We're high
Okay.
tech, but also writing things down is easier for me. Okay.
Okay. Just
Can
checking.
you save a young guy? Told this is.
I was just curious.
Okay.
I'm
All
just
right.
being observant.
All right.
We're
Listen.
against observant now?
No, we're not. That's what
Okay.
we are. That's what we do. It's our brand. Told you, folks. Buckle up. It's gonna be an episode. Okay. Listen to our interview with Spencer. We'll be back after this. Steve, our guest today is Spencer Ripchik. He is the beat writer at the Dominion Post in Morgantown. He is a Daily Collegian alum, but most of all, right now, he is, and I mean this complimentary, the most uninteresting AP voter in the country. Um,
Go ahead, explain that.
Spencer, can you please explain that to us?
Yeah, so it's my first year voting for the AP, so I didn't want to stick out too much because I didn't want to draw attention and I wanted to remain an AP voter. So I tried to make it like the most like I don't try to be outlandish and pick Oregon to be the number one ranked team in the country every week. So I try to go with what I think would be the best. I'm not trying to make outlandish picks. But yeah, right now I'm at the top of the chart, even though people still hate on my poll because I haven't ranked Utah for the past 2 weeks, even though I don't think their win over UCLA is that impressive or blowing out Cal Poly. So yeah, people still come at me for my basic picks.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to dive deep into that because that relates to some questions we have specifically for you this week, as it relates to your alma mater, Penn State, and the performance that we saw on Saturday. But I guess first off, when you found out that you were taking the job to cover WVU football, that's one thing. But when you found out that the AP vote came with it, what was that like for you?
Well, it's awesome. I think my one of my goals in my career was to be a college football voter. And I think the AP vote is like a step towards that. And it was really cool. I remember when I got like it was a Twitter DM from one of the AP writers DM me, asked me if I wanted to do it, and I replied right away. I couldn't believe it. And yeah, it's just a really big privilege and honor, and I'm really excited to be able to vote each week for that poll.
We've had Johnny McGonigal on, who also I think he still has the Penn
Yeah,
State AP
I think
vote.
Yeah, I think it's either because I know Audrey Snyder used to be the
Mhm.
AP voter, so he might be his first year actually, or second year,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, I'm not sure. But I guess from you and your perspective, how does that work? What is your process like in terms of ranking games? And I know this is your third, fourth week of doing this.
Yeah.
How are you fine tuning that process as well as you get going here?
So my basic metric is, do I think this team would beat this team on a neutral site? So that's my basic metric, and then I go based on what is your quality win of that week. So say you beat a Power Four school, that's a quality win, and then if you beat a Power Four ranked school, that's another higher level of quality win. So if you beat that team, then I look at that as more impressive as Penn State this week or Oregon or somebody beating up on a really, really bad, as I call a cupcake school. So I look at it like that. And then if you do bad against a cupcake school, then I penalize you for that. But yeah, my basic metric is just looking at, do I think this team would beat this team on a neutral site?
How long does your process take each week? Like how long does it after you've done your WVU stuff or whatever else? How long are you have to do to get your stuff ready to cast your ballot?
Yeah, so it was kind of rough this weekend because I traveled to the Ohio game, which is 2 hours. The game got over around 7 o'clock. Media, like an hour and a half, write story. So I got done at like 9:30 and then had to drive 2 hours home. So that was kind of rough. And I got home at like 12:30. So I wasn't making my poll at 12:30 at night. I kind of just went right to bed since I've been up since 8 o'clock in the morning. So I had to wake up really early on Sunday because the polls are due at 11. So I had to wake up really early on Sunday at like 8 and did my poll for like an hour and a half, and then I submitted it, and then I didn't really look back after that. Because then you really want to get it out, like your poll out, just so people see your poll before, because the polls come out at, I think it's like 2 or 3 o'clock, something like that. But yeah, that it usually takes me like an hour, and I look at my poll from last week, and then I just mix around what I thought who did better that week.
We mentioned earlier about the Utah folks. How how much do you care when people are responding to what you do, right? Because you share your ballot, you share what's going on. How much do you actually look at what's there? Do you like, okay, there were this many comments, but I'm not going through them because I don't have time? Or I mean, what's your
Yeah,
approach to dealing with that part of it?
I try to be as professional as possible, but as fun as possible when I respond to people. I try to respond to most people just because I like talking. I mean, that's why I got into sports, is because I like talking sports with people. So it's kind of fun online to see people who disagree with you. Like I know one week somebody at Texas Tech was upset because I didn't rank them, or I put Tennessee ahead of them or something like that. So like I respond and just show what my thought process was. I said why Utah was not ranked as not in the top 25 because, like I said, I didn't think they're. I mean, their win over UCLA is impressive, but then UCLA this week lost to UNLV, who I didn't think was impressive either. So yeah, I try to respond as factually and what my thought process is. I don't try to like be super negative or get into a first take argument with people online.
I like
Gotcha.
that.
Thanks.
I guess you mentioned the timeline and you mentioned and how you go about your votes, but I think localizing this a hair bit, there's some people anxious about the way Penn State played on Saturday. When you are looking and investigating, how do you kind of sift through what the box score says versus maybe what happened in reality?
Yeah, like I mean, it was a closer than it should have been. I watched the entire Penn State game. Well, I listened to it while I was driving the car, so I didn't really get to watch it, but I listened to the whole game, and I knew it was a lot closer than it should have been. And then, of course, like I always say, usually those kind of games are really early, close on. Maybe the really good team starts out slow, but in the second half, they always because because FIU's backups are not 5 stars, 4 stars like Penn State or Ohio State's are. They blow them out in the second half. So yeah, I look at those, like I call those, like those are supposed to be cupcake games or games where or they're pay to play, which they pretty much are pay to play. And like say Penn State didn't look too hot. I still think like based on my like first metric is, do I think this team would beat this team? So I looked at all those, and I really punished Georgia this week for not doing too well against, I think it was Austin Pay or somebody like that. So I punished them. I dropped them from where they were. I think they were ranked fourth. I had them ranked fourth last week. Now they're sixth in my rankings, and I boosted up Oregon and Miami, who looked a lot better than Georgia. So yeah, I definitely do penalize teams who don't look good. I didn't think Penn State. I mean, Penn State still won. I think it was 34-0, something like that. So it was still a big win at the end of the day.
Makes sense. That makes sense. What does current Spencer or how would current Spencer, how has previous Spencer changed current Spencer's opinion on rankings? Like how do you look at rankings now versus back then?
So back then, one of my like when I first got the job, like first got the AP vote, like when I wrote my original column, I wrote about how like back in the day when I was a kid with my dad, I'd always try to figure out where certain teams would be ranked after or what the top 4 or 5 is. And I didn't really look too much and too deep. It's really hard actually ranking the top 25 schools because in the back of your mind somebody's not going to be happy with somewhere. Like like somebody commented that Mississippi State, how is Mississippi State ranked and Arizona State's not ranked, or Arizona State is ranked. You're not gonna be able to please. I mean, how many FBS schools are there? Like 130. You're not gonna be able to please everybody. Somebody's 2-0 ranked Mountain West team not being in the top 25 is gonna be upset. And I think now looking at the voter part, I kind of appreciate how difficult the job is. When I was younger, I didn't think it was that hard. I mean, oh, LSU beat so and so, they were going to be higher. But now looking at it and being a voter, it's a lot harder than it looks.
You talked about Georgia moving a couple spots for you. As people are figuring out their season, right? Like a couple weeks in, do you think you're more apt to move somebody early in this season a couple spots than later in the season? Like, I mean, what's your sense of 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 a worth of a victory messing things up early, whether as you figure out what's going on?
Yeah, and with losses, I think it was a really good showing in the first week because there were so many ranked matchups, and you gotta look at a loss like, all right, I think home field advantage is something that's big for me. So if you lose on the road like Texas did to Ohio State, and it was a close game. I mean, it was ugly for both teams, but it was still a close game. You can't penalize Texas for scheduling such a tough opponent and then going on the road and playing in a close game. So in that regard, I don't penalize too harshly for losses. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Spencer, you're in year one of covering West Virginia football. How many years did you cover Penn State when you were at the Collegian? Two?
So I covered football only for a year and a
Okay.
half. I covered men's basketball for 3 years. I took a break my senior year just to have an enjoyable like college experience and make sure I didn't get burned out going into the work field because I knew I was gonna be doing it for the rest of my life. So I want to make sure with my last year I actually got to experience what it was like to be a normal Penn State student.
I like that. All right, I like that. How has your time on the WVU beat differed from your time on the Penn State beat so far?
So there's a ton of differences. So it's kind of interesting because like I talk to the WVU beat writers and I say like, oh, James Franklin never does this. Like we during the weeks we don't get practice like the Penn State people do, but then we also the SIDs are a lot more like responsive and stuff like that, and which is not a bad thing for Penn State because I mean they're a big time program with a lot of eyes on them. It's really hard to do their job, but I'm not saying that the West Virginia people too. But I think the difference is like there's the fan bases are a lot different. The demographic, I mean, because West Virginia football, that's all they have in West Virginia, unless you're a Marshall fan. It's not like Penn State where you had the Eagles, the Phillies, the Pirates, the Steelers. They have so many other sports teams. West Virginia, that's all they have. And there's a lot of West Virginia football has been around for a while. So if you don't know your stuff or your history, the longtime fans will call you out. I guess that's the same for Penn State, but I just feel like I mean, Penn State's fan base is huge, but West Virginia people, that's all they care about is West Virginia football. It's a lot different than Penn State.
What have you found moves the needle in terms of story types or kinds of things to do that people respond to?
So I think West Virginia is kind of I would say kind of old school. So we actually print like 5 days a week still, which is kind of unheard of in the digital era. So it's really about like like not evergreen stories, but stories that'll do well in print. So like I do a lot of breaking news stuff because I mean you got to do that. Like today when the running back got hurt, I had to do a breaking news story. But it's most of stories with like quotes in them, good analysis and stuff like that. I feel like that really does well in West Virginia. But obviously, opinion stories are always doing well. My editor always tells me he want me to write more opinion stories because opinion stories are kind of what draws clicks and stuff in this day and age. And people like to, even though like if somebody disagrees with you, well, that's an engagement. So stuff like that.
And it seems like the beat might not have as many. I don't know. I mean, it seems like the beat's smaller than Penn State because Penn State is there's so many places. So, are you competing with anyone or conscious of anything else that's happening out there in terms of making sure what they're doing so you're not missing anything? Or
Yeah, I'm a competitive guy, so that was one of my things that made me so that's why I got to kind of where I am today is because I was super competitive and wanting to write the most stories or wanting to make sure I was on top of everything. We're not super competitive. All of us are like super close, but we all kind of had our like own niche. Like I'm more of a print and digital guy. Then you have like the on threes who are more in recruiting and and the 24/7 sports who are more into like stats and like snap counts and stuff. I'm not super heavy into that. And then there's like your fan pages and stuff. So there's kind of a variety on the West Virginia beat. There's not a lot of people who like kind of overlap, which is kind of nice actually.
Yeah.
You, you mentioned, doing opinion pieces. I would assume you were relatively more trained on kind of quote unquote classical game story, game flow. Here's what happens, and here's this. What's been the biggest challenge for you? But what have you also enjoyed about dabbling into opinion stuff more?
Yeah, so like I try to pride myself on being an unbiased reporter. That's why I think the West Virginia job is so perfect for me because I have no ties to West Virginia at all, so I can be as unbiased as possible. And I'm not when my editor was like, you kind of need to do some more opinion pieces. I wasn't too keen on it because I like to just I like to let other people make their own opinions. So I'll like say like a stat, like say West Virginia was 3rd and 10 on first downs or something like that. Then people can give their opinions on that, like that was terrible, that's good, and stuff like that. So I think, but the good thing about opinion pieces is I think it allows your voice to be more given through your writing, if that makes sense. Like you're be able to put your own personality in your writing and stuff. So I think that's what I really liked about opinions, and I think trying to find your own voice and like column writing and stuff like that is super important in writing because everyone has their own voice. So I think it's been made me be able to try to find that.
It makes sense. Have you had your fill of the pepperoni rolls yet?
I had some like knockoff ones, but I've heard they're really, really good. I have to actually, I'm going to a Penn State game, one of the Penn State games when West Virginia has a bye, and I have to bring them the pepperoni rolls to as a one of my foods that I have to bring for the tailgates and stuff.
When we went down there last year, everybody was like, "You have to get one. You have to get one." And I got one, and I was like, I kind of see this. Like
Yeah.
it's quite good. All right, you're a Penn State alum, so we have some questions for you before we say goodbye. I want to know if you were the czar of Penn State sports, what would your for one day and one day only, what would your big change be?
Um, I could trigger so many people with saying you have to go back to Nike or something like that. But I don't know. I think Penn State sports is actually on like a really, really good trajectory right now. I have to watch because Pat McAfee's a big West Virginia alum, so I watch Pat McAfee show like every day to make sure he doesn't say something or leak something or stuff like that. And his thing about Penn State is Penn State has a lot of money and they're gonna do whatever they can to win. And I think that is very true right now. I think Pat Kraft is doing a great job. But yeah, I think I don't know. I don't really know what I would change. I think everything is really I think Penn State, like even with like hockey right now, they have like the top like hockey recruit in the country who's like gonna be a number 1 draft pick. So I think sports are in a really, really good spot right now.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Your go-to creamery ice cream flavor.
So I was in East dorms and I was in 2020, so I had like one of the most like renovated dorms, and I think I went to the creamery all of like 2 times. It's kind of one of those things where like you live right there and you like never go there. Like I live in Saratoga Springs, New York, and they have the big horse race track, and that's like a big thing in my town. And I've probably gone like 10 times. I've gone more than 10 times, but I go seasons without even going to the track. So I don't know. I'm kind of a basic guy. I kind of just go with like chocolate or something like that. I don't even know. I don't even know the flavors. I don't really go to I haven't been to the creamery that much.
All right.
As long as you're not saying the other creamery in
Yeah,
town,
that's
Darian's
good.
okay.
We're good. We're good there.
Yeah.
All right. The last one for you. You're back in town for one night and one night only. What bar are you walking into?
So my friend group was always a big pickles bar. We always used to go there, and probably if I do go, I'd probably go there on like a Friday night and get like the line leap and stuff like that. I like country music and stuff, and I kind of like that kind of like uh bar kind of feel. I'm not very a big like rave kind of guy, so I don't really like to go to champs and I also like to hear people when I talk. So like P-Mans or like Brothers is kind of out of the question because when you're in there, you can't even hear what the heck they're saying. So I think Brothers. Oh, and Doggies is also one of my more favorite bars, especially in the summertime. I'd say that one would be my favorite. But I just been to Pickles so many times because usually Doggies has like a line that wraps around the street. So pickles is probably my go-to.
All right, that makes sense. Spencer, where can people find you, your stuff, your work, all of that stuff?
So, I mean, you could follow me on Twitter, Ripchik Spencer. It's just my name, but my last name first because I didn't want it Spencer Ripchik, and there's two R's next to each other. So it's Ripchik. It's Ripchik Spencer on Twitter. And then I usually write most of my stories in the Dominion Post, but I write for all of my paper company is owned by Ogden, so I write for all of Ogden and West Virginia. So pretty much anywhere in West Virginia online, you find my stories, but usually mostly Dominion Post is where I mainly post all my work and stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Spencer.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Steve, I appreciated Spencer's honesty and I appreciated his clarity. What is the word? Authenticity, transparency is the word I was looking for of his process in terms of voting for the 8 people. I kind of joked with him there. He is, if you go look at Reddit College Football, which kind of came up with this formula of how they how all the voters compare. He quite literally is at the top right now. And I thought it was good to get his transparency on why he's not standing out too much right now. Yeah, I thought that was. I know we talked to Johnny a little bit about the 8 people, but it was good to really kind of dive in more deeply on that here today.
Yeah, and I didn't even know there was a something to dive in to rank the voters, right? Like that's how much stuff has kind of changed because they're out there. I mean, he shares his vote. I thought the interesting, could this team beat this team on a neutral field, right? I mean, that comparative thing probably is going to cause some trouble as the season progresses, right? Because you're going to have results that mess you up. But that's the beauty of the poll, right? And he's figuring it out a few weeks in of doing it, and I think that's what makes college football fun that way. Should it be a few weeks till one starts in the season? Maybe, right? But as it is, this is what we got. So it was kind of good to hear his process, and I appreciate him sharing what he does and why he does it that way.
Yeah, I think it's also always interesting anytime we can have a non-Penn State beat writer on just to hear the perspective of what life is like elsewhere in this college football ecosphere. Okay, ready to dive into the game?
Yep, let's hear your list or whatever. What are you going to do first?
First thing on the list. Championship expectations, championship standards. Okay? That's what we're going to spend time talking about today.
Okay.
There are championship expectations. Everybody and their brother that cares about Penn State football, whether you are a football player, whether you are somebody getting paid by the athletic department, whether you are somebody paying.
There's a lot of those.
There's a lot of those. Whether you are somebody paying the athletic department to go watch those football games, whether you're just sitting on your couch, you have those championship expectations. And I do not think that on Saturday, Penn State met those with a championship standard. And I think that's why a lot of people right now, even though it's a 34-0 win, are fired up. Because as Russ texted us, maybe not in these exact words, number 2 team, ? I understand the concerns and I understand the frustration and I feel the frustration. I hope that came through in this week's game recap. And I feel like, I wrote down here, like that's one of the weirdest outcomes to a Penn State game. It's because they literally did the hardest thing, which is to shut out an opponent and still scored a bunch of points. But it did not feel like that. Like the vibe has not felt like that. And I think the frustrating part is the litmus test of are things better is still 2 weeks away at this point. And the test that's in between there is a quiz that is elementary math when you're John Urschel level math. Okay. I'm fired up today.
No, you're not wrong. And I think that I think the thing that colors that even more for people is, right, you go home, you're grumbling about the game, or you're, well, let's peek at Oregon. Let's see what that's the next one. Let's see what they're doing. And they're dismantling a Big 12 team that, now I'm not sure FIU isn't better than Oklahoma State. I mean, I realistically, but you see what they're doing, and you're like, okay, and we've got to play them. But I don't know. Like, I don't know why. I'm just like, it was 34-0. They played for awfulness, for pick your word. It was not good. There were big gashes in the line. against them defensively. The quarterback missed people who were open, people dropped passes, but you still won 34-0, right? So I don't know. Like I haven't walked out to the plank to jump off the ship and wasn't really worried. But it's interesting to me see how fired up people are. Like I understand, but at the same time, at the end of the day, as much as it's a cliche and as much as it is, they're 1-0 again, right? They've won the game, and that's why it's hard for me to like, because they did. I mean,
Who's drinking the Kool-Aid here?
It comes with the reality of they played awful and they still won 34-0.
That's fair.
And they did not look good.
I think
in any facet. The punter's good.
He's great. Well, except when he does kickoffs, right?
Well,
like,
well, you can't do it all.
Yeah, you can't do it all. I think what I struggle with is like, this is, I mean, what was the like Auburn was the last time, like the Auburn game in State College, which was 2021, was like the last time Penn State was really tested in the non-conference period. And I think what has a lot of people anxious is like, right now, the results in particular don't feel necessarily too different than maybe how they did 2023 when they went and beat the crap out of WVU on opening night. And then I think they had a letdown of a game. Or even last year when they, kind of stumbled through. And to your point, you go look and see what other people do. And yes, Penn State won. And last year on the day Penn State played Bowling Green, Notre Dame goes out and loses to NIU on the same day. And then, of course, they'd like meet in the semifinal. It's kind of this weird part of that. But I feel like the deja vu factor there is there for people. And I think that's why people are so upset right now, because everybody has seen this reality and knows that in this reality, nothing that can be done can prove things are better until 7:30 September 27th.
Right. No, that's entirely true. Right. Like it's all part of the long con. Right. Like it doesn't matter, and especially now in a 12-team playoff, even 11 o'clock on September 27th isn't really going to matter, because one loss isn't knocking Penn State out of this. Two might. One loss isn't, right? So even then, the sky could be falling September 27th, the night of, and they've still got a few more weeks till you find out if it's Ohio State and it's really the things have come crashing down, or it's just, they're figuring it out. I mean, I don't like drinking the Kool-Aid, but I understand that more people are getting reps now in these games than are going to get reps when they matter. The bench is going to shorten up, right? So some of those plays that somebody might be missing might not be plays in which they're on the field when the time comes in a couple of weeks, right? So that could be part of it. And I just think it's that the whole 12-team playoff doesn't have me freak out over this stuff as much, because yes, there should be championships level standards, but at the same time, everybody has these weeks. Guys, for much as they preach 1-0 and the standard is the standard, inconsistent, college kids are just the most inconsistent. You just can't predict. I mean, it angers me more and would frustrate me more from the financial side, right? 5 years ago, you're having an off game. So what? You're not the girlfriend, you did whatever else. Now, sorry, everybody's making some serious money. How about playing like it matters, right? And I think that part could frustrate me more than the other stuff. But
fascinating.
I get it.
Fascinating. That was an interesting point from where you stand on the whole NIL thing. And
well, if you're going to pay them, then I expect them to play that way every week, right? Like if they're just college kids, then this week there's like any other week that you have during the season.
No argument here. And I think that's the other frustrating part is like, in a lot of the ways, like Penn State didn't play well on Saturday. A lot of the ways that they didn't play well were just mental mistakes. There was that run from Nick Singleton kind of around the edge, and if he picks the first hole as opposed to the second hole, he probably scores a touchdown. There were just some throws that Drew Aller has been making since high school that he was not making, and I think, I don't know if I don't know if I buy the whole like, well, these getting all these NIL deal type things, but at the same time, it's not like these guys are sophomores or freshmen anymore. This is a now 4-year quarterback that's seen collegiate reps in 4 years, all 4 years. It's a running back that's pretty much been a starter since day one that he's been on campus. And I think it's just, I think even James Franklin brought this up, like the today at the press conference, like the overthinking and the just go out there and play aspect of it. I think that's where a lot of frustrations boiled down to on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and for the quarterback specifically, it's not about the pay there for me in my mind. That kid's played enough football that if an NFL team, if my NFL team decided to draft that guy, it would give me pause. Like they may win every game the rest of the season with him behind center. There's an inconsistency there and a not leaving the previous play alone and letting it carry to the next play that I don't feel that we've gotten over last year. Everybody to say, oh, look, West Virginia game. Look at what a leader is, spouting off to the officials and standing up for his team. And this is the brand new him. I don't know. Like, I still feel like he's the same kid. This stuff does last from play to play and series to series. And I think they're going to need that to not happen for them to meet the championship expectations they have.
I think we just need to see more data. And the data that we get this weekend will not be that reliable.
No.
Okay. All right. I want to dive into game day. How did you watch the game? Did you go into the stadium Saturday?
No, we had 6 tickets passed through our hand and 2 very nice sets. A very nice pair offered by Aaron, which I just couldn't pass up. I could pass up because the grandchildren were already set and coming. So no, we watched at home.
Okay.
And yelled at the TV, and yeah, I mean, I'm calm for you now, but yeah, I'm looking at that saying, really, this is what they're doing. Mm-hmm. This is how it looks. So, and I was looking over. We're gonna get there, I guess. I was looking over the team entrance and how many different times that ad changed.
A lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I didn't count, but maybe I will this weekend. It's something to do. I was in the stadium. I guess. Is it okay if I go stadium stuff first, and then we can get into the broadcast? Because I do have a note about the broadcast, because I did go back and watch about the first quarter. And I have a note there. I'm going to write that note down, okay, on a piece of paper, not on my phone.
That's because you're using the phone to do the podcast. Yeah. I was paying attention.
Okay. Okay. I want to give look. We come on here. We criticize. We also should recognize. Scoreboard, 1,000 times better. Could actually read things on the scoreboard this time around. Novel concept. I know. One thing when I posted the blog last week after the first game, a lot of people kind of flagged this to me about closed captionings, which usually appear if you're looking at the south end zone scoreboard at the very bottom of that scoreboard. They were pretty intermittent this weekend. And I guess they were the previous weekend. I'm a little surprised by that. Maybe I can't remember if they're always there 100% of the time, but it feels like they were a lot more intermittent, and I am surprised by that from the accessibility standpoint. Most of all, I think would be the biggest thing. We have some deaf family members, and that's important for them to get those types of things. I'm sure there's deaf fans at Beaver Stadium, so I think that's important. Surprised by that. That was one note. And most of
the times I've seen them, I didn't pay attention to the first game when I was in this season, but they're there. I've seen them consistently. I just think it's got to be so much work for the people who are trying to see him, right? Because it's not like it's the biggest place for you to see him and whatever else, right? So, and keeping up with them, like how do you keep up with?
They're a little delayed when they do work.
Because my pet peeves would be how on the play-by-play is or isn't from the public address. I'm like, well, how do you put that there when they're back and forth?
Well, yeah, there's ways to do that nowadays. We're a multi-million-dollar company now, so
if that's where they choose to spend their money, yes, there would be ways to do that.
That's true. Again, you are fired up today. The biggest in all of this, I recapped in this week's a blog post this week. The biggest change was the Amica ad on the field in the end zones. Was quite surprised to see that, and didn't didn't quite understand that. I'm working on a little bit of a deep dive, hopefully, maybe a deep dive on the whole naming rights thing, and was curious about this. So, because that is an ad and not the name, like Penn State could have been putting ads had the NCAA allowed them all over the field. We could make the field look like a NASCAR stadium or like a NASCAR car, as much as we want to. Be careful what you wish for. I know that's what you're saying. I know that was what you're going to say. That is why they didn't need Board of Trustee approval. Learned that there's a literally like a provision that like since '98 that said in the university policy that like the BJC and Beaver Stadium are basically exempt from like the university's advertising policy. Okay. So I thought that was interesting. Got clarity on that. Wanted to share that because I know I was fired up about that. I mean, I still am fired up about it. But again, if we're gonna go get money, let's go get it. Speaking of money, did not see and notice that it was removed from Penn State's sponsorship website. Hershey is no longer a sponsor of Penn State athletics. And more interestingly, did not notice, aside from Reese's Pieces, I don't know how to say it. Did not notice.
You don't have to worry about it. They're not there.
That's the only one that is there of the Hershey branded products. But it's all Mars and Mondelez, Mike and Ike's Swedish Fish, M&M's. Kind of surprised. I mean, I know Mars is like a PA sorta-ish company. Like they've got some factories over down in that part of the state. But like I was kind of surprised by that. It's kind of weird to not see one of the biggest brands in the state no longer be a partner of Penn State athletics. One of the biggest.
For the longest time before we were really starting to make money, the university, before the athletics was really starting to make money, they wanted to charge the Creamery a full-on sponsorship to be able to sell their stuff in the stadium, or they wouldn't give them, or if they did, they wouldn't provide them signage and signage of where the stuff was at. So athletics has never missed an opportunity to monetize and get what they believe is market value for what's inside the stadium, and companies do pay for that. People do pay for that, right? The Tunnel Club is sold out. The seats are going to be sold. Those club seats are going to sell, I think, when they come online. So it's there and available, and it's probably my fault for not buying those season tickets 4 years ago that they probably need some more money. So go get it wherever they can. Did the Amica ad, I don't even know how you pronounce it, did it bother you? Or was it just interesting that it was there and that the rules were different because it wasn't on the field?
I don't know how I feel about it.
Take the fifth. That's all. I don't care. I'm just curious.
Like I don't, because I think what is happening over the last 2 weeks now, is the sanitation of the desanctification. There we go. Maybe that's a better word for it. Yeah. Of the Beaver Stadium game day experience. Like it's
everything's for sale.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm fine with that because we have to make money. Every year, $20.5 million goes right out the window for Penn State athletics and to be an athletics program that I want them to be at. So they have to go find ways to make money. And if that's how they're going to do it, that's great. It's just a little earth-shattering, jaw-shattering, surprising, catch you off guard.
Okay.
And I think why I brought up the Hershey and Yingling also not in the stadium anymore. Why I bring that up is like there's trade-offs, right? Like there's we're gonna go do this thing. We talked about this a little bit last week. Like add value to my experience if you're going to monetize things. I don't understand. Like I just like are Mars candy that much cheaper that we can't that we think we can get more money out of that, or is Mars candy, like, are they paying that much more? Does that enhance my? Is it weird to be fired up about candy in the stadium? Yes.
Well, and you've gotten more local for your beer in some ways. Yes. I mean, so your Axeman is the beer, right? And the local cidery is the cider that's there. So in some ways, you've gotten more local that way. Although you've got Modelo, which is the CFP official beer of the CFP in the stadium, and Bud Light, which is the official beer of trying to find its brand again after having lost it. So there's a little bit of everything, I guess.
Yeah, and I think. I just want to keep some authenticity involved in the process.
what would be, you've lost the sign over the student or over the team entrance, which bugged you. Is there a piece of holy ground left in the place or left in the experience that they could screw up, right? Like, because we going back to West Shore Homes, I honestly thought they were sticking their logo on the field and that's the sponsorship they were getting. Instead, it's at the end of the state. It's on all four sides facing outwards, which means I think that's worth more than the money they got for it. Like, I thought they were kind of getting a bargain with the on-field number, but it's worth, so they've lost that opportunity to monetize there. But is there a place that there's not a NASCAR treatment to, or some part of the game where game day experience, even I'll broaden it, where you'd be like, okay, I'm done. Or if they improve the environment by getting a sponsor for parking and reducing rates by half next year, would that be a win?
That would be a win. That would be a massive win. And I have a take brewing on the parking situation. I don't know. I think for a lot of people it's jersey ads. I think that's the fine line. I mean, I think and we'll debate this here in a little bit with the Nike and Adidas situation, because that in a way is an ad. I think that's up there. I think I don't know what more you could do. I really don't. Like, okay. It kind of feel like we just said, we're going to go for it. We're going to put a logo anywhere that we possibly can and sell you something. I mean, there are three decks of LED ribbon boards selling me ads while Drew Aller throws a football.
See, but you thought those were going to be practical at some point, and I never did, right? Like,
and maybe
you thought they were going to give you stats somewhere, right? Like, there was never going to be anything. They were never going to do anything but sell with those.
Okay, but what I struggle with, and this is what I didn't write this, but I struggle with it because, again, it just shows the super ribbon boards with the ribbon boards at the top of the stadium. Those ones were just showing like 2025 men's Frozen Four, 2025 women's volleyball national champions. Is that like? Does that serve the fan? Like, I understand we can do some recognition there, but if we're going to do that, why can't we get like what a great opportunity yesterday or Saturday with Katron and Nicholas Singleton climbing into the 3,000 club, and there's no acknowledgement of that. There's no acknowledgement that they've slid into 8 and 9. That could be a cool activation. And I don't know how necessarily the NIL works, but that could be a cool activation all football season of here's that ranking and here's where they stand, and okay, Katron just got 67 yards on this run. All right, he's now this person on the list and actually passed Nick. And I think that is where, kind of going back to what you said last week, like that's where it's falling short for me. I don't know that.
No, I mean, how cool would that be to have like Werner Ladders, right, which is college basketball, but like, you see somebody putting their name, you could do the animation. Right. I mean, of all the people that do the animation of up 8 to 9 or whatever else, and you show, yes. And no, I don't think the indoctrination and information part of championships stuff matter. I mean, if you're going to have hockey in the stadium, then you need to have that ad every week, right? Promoting the winter game. Yeah. That's what matters. That's going to lead to ticket sales for you. Like, you don't do things that aren't leading to some action or some revenue for you. I mean, it was like they used to do, and this was the previous administration, but wear your favorite jersey number to the stadium. Why? You were already coming to the game. There's no benefit for it. There's nothing. And if it doesn't lead to a solid call to action or a feel good, there's not a reason. I wasn't planning on it, but like Thon game. This was the Thon game, right? So what do they do with the Thon game? The students sit in a ribbon in the student section, and we can talk about that yellow ribbon and it's Thon. Okay, that's awareness, but is athletics doing anything for Thon? Are they donating? Are they doing something? Are they saying, hey, buy this? To me, that then allows these 100,000 people or however many were there to feel good about the same thing together and be a part of something, be a part of a tribe that does something together. And I think that's where they miss sometimes the stuff.
And I do think they're doing that. There's the one company that's sponsoring some sort of, for every point Penn State scores, they're donating $100 to Thon, and they announced that during the game. But yeah,
And
like
the pork producers have stuff every year with whether it's sacks or whatever it is.
like I want to see.
It's good.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying though. You want to see drive home, like we do a great job, but we could do a better job. A great
championship
elite,
expectations,
yes.
championship expectations, championship, whatever your two first 2 words were. Yeah. Standards. There you go.
Let's go to the broadcast. I watched a little bit of the first quarter. This is now 2 games in a row where there's been a really good intro to the games, like a good like video motif montage going into the games. Particularly on BTN, that kind of surprised me. Shout out to them. Thought that was good.
Yep.
How was the broadcast?
And I think there's more people. I think there's more people that are able to do that, and it's not to diminish how good it is, but I think it's more of an expectation now, than it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. How was the broadcast?
I like Yogi Roth. Like I mean, he's a pick guy. Not in a bad way. He's a pick guy. I've known of his work for years. I thought he was good. I mean, and I don't think there's that huge drop off to BTN that there used to be. I still think FS1 there may be a drop off, but I don't think that BTN's drop off is as big as it used to be. And in some ways, Yogi Roth isn't off of, and even the BTN crew isn't that far off of what some of the bigger networks are doing in terms of what they do, because they do their homework. I think they work harder at it in some ways than some of the network people do.
I think that comes through. I think one thing I was thinking about in particular, FS1 versus BTN, there is a coziness as a Big Ten fan with BTN, just because it's more or less state media, right? But I think the other thing that's been the biggest difference is BTN throws it to their studio crew, which is live, which is talking about this game. Like it's very almost what you get from the NFL Sunday halftime show crews, right? FS1, if you watch a Friday game in particular, some of them are recorded. Some of them are not even talking about like that game. I know ESPN kind of does that. There's an authenticity with BTN, and I think that's what pushes them and continues to push them higher up the ranking leaderboard.
Yeah, no, and that's honestly what's fun about Penn State's schedule, right? You're going to see all this during the season. You're going to see every partner. You're going to see every treatment. And in whatever it is, 3 weeks when Oregon's here, everybody's going to be here. I mean, Fox will be here for Big Noon. I mean, likelihood, right? Because it's going to be, even though it's a night game, it's the game. And if they're not here, shame on them. Game day is going to be here because it's going to be there's another game that weekend. There's a pretty
big one. I think it's Georgia and Bama, maybe. But that's not looking as attractive.
But right. Yeah. And NBC has the game, right? So realistically, you could have all 3 networks here that weekend if things play out, which should be fun.
Yeah.
To compare and contrast.
Okay. Well, that's a storyline for another day.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead. You got more on your laundry list.
No, that's it. That's a game day experience.
Well, then you got that thing on your chest you need to talk about.
The swoosh. All right, where do you want to begin? Actually, where I want to begin. I want to go back to a podcast episode. Well, maybe I'll superimpose this in here. Steve, did you know something? Did you?
I heard rumblings, sort of, possibly, maybe something would happen.
Okay, because you alluded to some changes in the air. That's all I'll say. And yes, I also heard some of those rumblings as well prior to this. And when I first heard those, quite frankly, I was my flabbers were gasted, as the kids have been saying.
The kids do they?
I don't know. Maybe
the kids from the 1930s.
Yeah, probably. And then things progressed, and here we are. And yeah, Penn State the clock is ticking on them being a Nike school, which is utterly fascinating. And is one of the biggest changes in Penn State athletics history, quite frankly. And it's a interesting one. There's a lot that I want to dive in on this. I want to go back to Nike though, because I want to go back to the beginnings, and it's fascinating how Penn State and Nike kind of like came together and like kind of became like Penn State and Nike. Penn State is not Nike's highest school, but back in the 90s, it was kind of a big deal that Penn State and Nike were getting together. Can you fill me in, old guy, on like that era, 93, 94, what you remember?
Oh, right. It was all about the swoosh, right? Yeah. I mean, it was all about putting something on the uniform initially. I mean, publicly, but I think privately it was about support, right? They were going to do performance center here that didn't happen. And that was only 4 or 5 years ago. They talked about doing that. It was, consistency across sports. It was supplying product. It was a big change, right? Just because Penn State was becoming more corporate. It was becoming not your mom and dad's football program. It was becoming like this bigger time football program, for lack of a better word. And I think it surprised a lot of people, but I think they embraced it. I think people, because I think it was, because it was validated by Coach Paterno, right? It was like, this is what we need to do. This is what we're doing. Everybody's like, yep, this is what we're doing. We're going to do. And you became the Nike school. You just like became the Pepsi school, right? Like that was those first two. It felt like foundational partners for what they were doing. And now things have changed.
And
maybe that relationship soured from some of this stuff.
That was about what I was going to say. Just based on some people that I've talked to, it does sound like things have soured, and then it kind of got backed up by our dear friend of the podcast, John Saubers, reporting this week. Thought he did a great job covering all that. I have that story up right now. The headline was Penn State a priority for Nike behind the switch from swoosh to stripes? And basically the gist was very much that Penn State, he wrote, there are instances that PSU's belief in Nike did not feel the same way. Like when Penn State requested to do multiple specific program projects that Nike denied. Multiple sources said Penn State requested to wear the gold swoosh on their jerseys for the college football playoff semifinal against Notre Dame, much like Ohio State had, but it was denied. Then he talks about a Saquon Barkley brand of shoes that got denied, and a couple other things. People weren't showing up Nike reps had not shown up, according to his report, since July 2022, at least, under the Pat Kraft era, on campus. And then the big one was, with Nike's initial offer to Penn State during this round of negotiations, which, according to a source, was lower than Nike's current deal for the Nittany Lions. I think this is in part the crux of the situation, and the crux of the why Penn State did this, why Pat Kraft went and did this, why this was okayed and approved, and all of these things. Penn State was, I can name you 3 schools ahead of Penn State on the pecking order in the Big Ten right now. And I could quite frankly name probably about 10 schools ahead of Penn State on the Nike pecking order across the country. They were very much fourth fiddle at best, right? Like it was down, and based on the things that we had kind of heard and some of the processes and things going on behind the scenes, that's kind of the way it appeared. So yeah, it was surprising, but it wasn't that surprising. And I think now Penn State goes out and becomes Adidas's Big Ten brand. They went and signed Tennessee. That's their SEC brand. For all intents and purposes, the Adidas's Big Ten brand. If we're gonna do this, what do you call it? NFL light with the CFC and those two divisions. Like if the one big division is the Big Ten and the other one is the SEC, these are the two schools that Adidas is really planting their flag into.
What about Nebraska?
No, not. And I think the number is why.
Okay.
It's $100 million more than what Tennessee got 2 months ago, 3 months ago, however many months ago it was. And I think the other thing that was important and I think is really interesting, it is the Nike deal that Ohio State has was $252 million over 15 years. The Penn State deal is over 10 years, so it's $30 million more per year there. I think it's clear that for as much as I have harped on Pat Kraft for a lot of things, we've discussed some of those things on this very podcast, this was an absolute win for him. It sucks from the fact that I only buy Nike shoes. It sucks that I really like their products. But at the end of the day, going back to the conversation, what do you need to win with, or how do you win right now in college athletics? It's money. Go get the money. Go figure it out. Pat Kraft did that, and that is kudos to him.
Yes, I agree. I think what's most interesting to me about this story is just all the tentacles of it, right? Like it is about it. It feels like it's about the money. It's about the NIL money that's coming on top of the product to pay for the student athletes or to pay for the participants. Because friend of the program who hasn't appeared yet, but at least knows we exist, is Landon Tangwell, right? Talking about, I heard him talking on his show this week about, hey, there's no NFL players that are wearing Nike because they suck, right? No NFL linemen who are wearing Nike because their product's not good, right? So that's interesting to me, right? Is this, and I don't know, or wearing Adidas, sorry, we're not wearing Adidas because of product. What do they have for track, for wrestling, for the other sports beyond like all the stuff when the release says it's transformational and we're the best in class and it's going to, okay, sure. But I think what it really is they're giving Penn State the most money to be able to pay their athletes more. So, and that's, I just, and the NIL is in there, so they're not avoiding it. But I think all those little pieces in terms of volleyball uniforms, all that other stuff, just to know how people, if we were ever to find out, oh, does everybody think this is great? There's probably for some people for whom this product isn't the best, but it's best for everybody altogether.
That relates to some things that I also heard related to how some of this was received internally. I think you talk about the tentacles of this. I think there is the fan aspect as well, because you go look at my wardrobe. God knows how many Penn State items of merchandise
You're still allowed to wear them though.
I know, and now all the value on those goes through the roof. The stuff that I
don't get them dirty.
Don't get them dirty, right? Like now I really can't lose my 1/4 zip. But I think that's interesting. I don't know what I don't know, and what I'm anticipating hearing is in 3-4 years from now, I feel like I'm going to hear, I hate that Penn State switched to Nike to Adidas. They should have never left Nike. Their stuff was so much better, like, and not necessarily the understanding, like the fan or the why of all of this, because I think you and I, to a degree, get the why of all of this, and I don't know that the average fan does. And I do think that the relationship souring is a fascinating thing. I mean, Phil Knight gave a eulogy at Joe Paterno's funeral, right? And that's only 15 years ago now. Like, I know that's only 15 years ago.
Decade and a half, though. I mean, but
it's just like,
change.
I think that's what's very interesting and very fascinating. And a part of all of this change that we're living through is like, this isn't even like my Penn State anymore. It's a new Penn State athletic chapter, and credit to Pat Kraft, it started with him. For how much or little we don't like it, honestly, things would be just a lot better if he would just get rid of the flag. And you know what? If the flag has an Adidas
come with a brand
logo on it
next year,
if that has an Adidas logo on it, you know what? I'll shut up about it. That's
okay. There you go. Out there. I think you're not giving general fans enough credit. I think general fans know it's about the money. I also
maybe not general fans, just below general fans.
Okay, I don't know.
Guy drinking a beer, spouting.
I think everybody knows it's about the money. I think the thing that makes it even easier is if there'd be some benefit for them, and I don't know what it is, right? Like, it's not like this deal is going to freeze ticket prices for 2 years because we got this much money, because that's not going to happen, right? So I think that's the tough part for fans is, okay, you've done this. You've put an ad on my field. You've put an ad around the stadium on all 4 sides. You've got more sponsors than ever showing up on the stadium. And that's what I saw. I'm watching the ribbon boards as much as I can behind plays to see names and companies that I don't know that I haven't seen before, but there's more of them during games. You've done that, and my ticket price has still gone up, and you're still asking me for money. Like, I think if there was a way all of this would lead to, hey, we've done a lot of change. One of the things we're not going to do in the next year is change your ticket prices. Or next 2 years, we're going to change your ticket prices because we've got some investment for sponsors, and we appreciate all your long-term stuff, even if they did it for season ticket holders who've been there more than a decade, right? You've been with us for a decade. We've had all these changes. You folks, prices. I mean, I think then they could see some benefit to them for it, as opposed to just a more thing. I don't think that's ever going to happen from this organization or any other, because I don't think people do that kind of mindset with fans in general.
No, it sucks. It's annoying, and I think that's why, like, I can get fired up about the fact that Hershey candy is gone, or people were fired up that Yingling lager is gone. Yeah.
And I would love to know 2 years out, some coach says, yeah, it wasn't the best for our team, but our players are getting paid. Like, I don't like their gear. I don't like their kits. I don't like their whatever. But that's who we are now. That, I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Just to know.
Just know.
Okay.
We will have a year and a half now to sit here and discuss the Adidas thing. And we just spent about 25 minutes on it, or 20 minutes on it. But I really wanted to dive in deep on that. I did want to say for all of the haters out there that I think it's very important that we acknowledge that Micah Hancock was one of the athletes referenced in the press release, because I have gotten a lot of feedback and pushback over the years on my thoughts on how Micah Hancock might be Penn State's greatest athlete of all time. And hopefully this proves that. This is one notch towards that. Okay. Before we get to old guy, young guy, it's too good of a segue not to do. I am disappointed that Penn State did not switch to the SSWS brand of apparel called Stuff. My stuff came in. Our hat, it came in. Look at the hat. Look at that. Looks great. Love that. We also ordered messing the camera up on the iPhone. I also ordered the sweatshirt for you listening, and for Steve, because I forgot to add these last year.
We got the second brand. That's right.
We got the logo on there this year. Yeah. And the piece de resistance.
I thought you were going to show the big one, the one that they're using for themselves for other stuff.
What's that? There is, of course.
I thought you were going to say play Zombie Nation.
No, I that is this week's item of the week for unspecified reasons. That if you really want to dig into Roar Plus, we can have a conversation about that. Yep. See, there's the chicken basket one.
Nice.
Stuff Summer Says logo.
It's probably more cost effective to buy the chicken basket shirt than to buy a chicken basket.
No, it's only it's about $3 more.
Okay, but
we could now with
you can't keep the chicken basket from game to game.
That's true. You can't. And now with our Beaver Stadium food finder, it's a good segue.
Which is really cool. Kudos to you on that, by the way. Like I didn't even think I texted you, and I don't know if anybody. I mean, that's a lot of shoe leather. A lot of note taking with your little hard note, probably your phone because you probably didn't carry your notebook in. Yeah, that was really cool.
I got tired of not knowing where food was, and it's the number one thing that people have given us feedback on. Hey, and I reached out to Penn State Athletics this summer and said, hey, is there a stadium food map? And they said no, and I said, okay, we're gonna make one. Now, that being said, on that food map, maybe we should make the chicken basket shirt. Maybe that will be next week's, or going into the Oregon game. The chicken basket stuff, I promise you now, will be the same price as a Beaver Stadium chicken basket. We can debate the ethics of that later. Okay.
That's marketing. That's not ethics.
Okay.
Not unethical.
All right. That was this week's shameless plug. Now it's time for this week's old guy, young guy.
Yeah, and this might be old grumpy guy, young guy. So I hope.
Oh boy.
Well, do you buy 50/50 tickets at the football games? Because we talked about this in person when we met. I wasn't going to buy one because I want it to benefit a charity and it benefits Happy Valley United. So that was my non-starter. But would you buy 50/50 tickets, or why not?
Bev Summers bought one. Bought
a
list of them, and she looked at me and said, I hope we win. Well, we bought a Powerball ticket, and she's like, well, yeah, but you got to pay taxes on that. And I was like, Mom, I'm happy to pay taxes on a $1.8 billion Powerball ticket versus the $16,000 that we'd win for the 50/50. We do not do it every game, but some games I do. Like if I happen to walk by somebody that's like free that's selling them, yeah, I'll do it. I don't do it every game, but do it most games. We do it. We definitely try to make sure we do it here when we go to Keys games, because it does donate. They pick sometimes they tether the game to a charity, so it goes to those. But it's just good for the community. I feel like I've always done 50/50. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy them. We went to a concert at the local pizza shop, right? The guy our neighbor plays his guitar, and they were selling stuff for the fire department. I'm like, sign me up. Like, here we go. Here's our $10. It's great. It's going to the fire department. But my non-starter for Penn State is it's Happy Valley United. But I was listening to the executive director for Happy Valley United on another podcast earlier today, and I had folks from Happy Valley United have rejected many of our requests to show up. So I'm not going to rip them, but he said they modeled they were trying to learn from the Philadelphia Eagles, because the Philadelphia Eagles 50-50 last year for one game was like $100,000. And they're like, this is great. Like, how do you do it? I don't understand. Well, the Eagles 50-50 was for like the Autism Society of Greater Philadelphia. Sign me up for the Autism Society of Greater Philadelphia, right? Like, perhaps Penn State fans are a discerning bunch who are saying, yeah, I know my odds are better than the 50-50, but you're not giving it to charity, right? Like, even if they gave one game, give the Thon games 50-50 to Thon, right? Then you're doing something for Thon. So like, I am always almost whatever. Give me the small little place, the nonprofit that's doing something, the fire department in Pennsylvania, the Moose, the Elks, the whatever. Give me the scratch offs, give me the 50-50s. But with them, with Penn State, it's harder to do that because it feels like a self-serving 50-50, even though I know they're not officially the athletic department.
But
right?
it kind of is, right?
Right.
No, I agree with that. I think that's something we both have talked about and struggled with. And I think in particular, like I am concerned. Here's my take. I am concerned for the state of Penn State's NIL program if they cannot go without $15,000 that they're going to get from giving the 50-50 pot to Thon for that one game. Like that's concerning that there's opportunities elsewhere to raise money, right? I think but I think also, to your point, people would be all about it, particularly for Thon. I know the United Way would be another one that would be crucial to you as well. Like I just think that it feels like a very big missed opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess yes, the $15,000. If the $15,000 makes a difference, I'm concerned. I think I'm also concerned in a bigger picture, not my picture to paint, but their expectations for game one was that the pot would be a $50,000 50-50, right? And they were at like 16, right? And they had some problems with their technology and it didn't work. But then their last week one was supposed to be, they thought it would be 60. I'm like, it's a noon game. Why would you think it would be more than a 3:30 game? And again, you're never going to get to the Eagles 100,000, even though your stadium is much 30% bigger. Mm-hmm. So I worry about them, I don't know, just being realistic or continually tapping the same people for things. And if those people have money to support it, please, God bless you, support it. Although it feels like there'd be some more meaningful things besides the athletes who are getting the scholarship and the money and the free books and the, pick your hands, right? So, and I'm hopeful that they win. I'm hopeful that they win 12 games because I know somebody wants to go to Nashville if they go to 12-0. So win, right. But whatever.
Okay. No, I think it's all very valid points. I will think of you when I buy a 50-50 ticket this week.
Well, maybe. I'm not going to slip you any money when I come see you to buy me one. So no, okay. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, but whatever.
I'll split it with
We can go in on a lottery ticket and let Bev pay the taxes and whatever
else.
Else.
Clearly she's concerned about those taxes on the Powerball that we didn't win. Did you see that? I guess it was the frat house, one of the frat houses in Texas, maybe, apparently.
Was it?
That was one of them. That's what they were purporting. I don't know if it's true.
That'll be a party.
That's what it looked like. Okay. That's this week's podcast. I know that was a longer one, but there was a lot to discuss and wanted to dive into and spend some time on. I know we've been kind of long lately, but hopefully you've been enjoying them, and I appreciate the fact that you have. Website will have the usual stuff. I'm going to write about the Adidas thing. I'm going to, like I said, looking into the stadium thing a little bit. I want to dive in on that. I will have a game preview. We'll have depth charts. We'll have a game recap. Steve, you said you were fired up about a couple things.
4 words. Okay. I'm just looking at them now. Brand, consistency, flashed, and generational.
Thinking about that third one.
Yeah, I know. It feels like it's being used out of context, but I think they like the jargon of using it with the coaches, which doesn't serve me as a fan at all.
Okay, that's fair. All right, there's that. That website where you can also buy all of this stuff if you're watching on YouTube. All this great stuff. Even though I have two of the same logos here. Do you have stuff on today?
No, I don't. I had on the Unrivaled.
You were wearing stuff. You wore stuff when I was at.
I did. I was head to toe that.
That's right. You had the hat and the shirt. So buy all that on the blog. In the meantime, blog is called stuffsummersays.com. On that website, there's a section called With
Steve.
We have emails. Mine's Darian at stuffsummersays.com. Steve's is
Steve at stuffsummersays.com, and I know how to check it now too.
He does know how to check it because even though he set up a scavenger hunt, we still need to pick a winner for that. And then our 5 stars, thumbs up, YouTube, subscribe, all that. Lastly, you can find me on the internet at Stuff Summer Says. You can find Steve
Steve Samsel.
See ya. Bye.